Billions of Americans suffering, often in silence. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 1 in 5 American adults experience mental illness each year. Millions and millions of others have chronic conditions as well. So how can we better manage our mental health as part of making America healthy again? Here with us to discuss, globally recognized addiction medicine specialist, Dr. Drew Pinsky. Dr. Drew, great to see you again. Thank you for making time for us. You know, there was a time when talking about mental health was sort of taboo. We didn't do it. So we are making a little bit of progress in the sense that we are talking about it more, but it does seem to be getting worse. Studies showing that even 1 in 6 U.S. children are age 6 to 17, they're experiencing a mental health episode every year. We hear so much about anxiety and depression rates rising. Why are we seeing the increases that we're seeing, Doctor?
Well, I mean, you packed a lot into that question, so let me deal with the last part first. Why are we seeing increases? I think there's a series of reasons, in my humble opinion. One is we are both over-treating and under-treating people, and so people that really need help are not getting it, and people that really are just under the sort of the umbrella of ordinary misery are giving maybe too much treatment. We have taught kids that the way to manage stress, the way to manage discomfort is to avoid it and go to a safe place, which is anathema to what we should be doing, which is leaning into it and developing resiliency and grit and self-efficacy. So we are not doing that. At the same time, we are in massive denial about the nature of adverse childhood experiences. Divorce is an adverse childhood experience. Having a parent or a family member with a substance problem is an adverse childhood experience. Having someone involved with the legal system is an adverse childhood experience. It doesn't have to be overt abuse, but if you have 2 or 3 of these, your risk of serious mental illness or certainly depression, anxiety goes way, way up. And we have been in great deal of denial about this. At the same time, we are in a spiritual vacuum. Our families are unhealthy. Our nutrition, you saw the MAHA meeting recently, where they pointing out how much our nutrition and chemical exposure is affecting our mental health. Yes, yes, and yes. It's any wonder that we have trouble right now.
Doctor, what are some of the warning signs that you or a loved one has some mental health challenges that perhaps need to be addressed?
Well, it depends what age group we're talking about. Most people are talking about adolescence. So what you have on the screen here is for adults. If there is a change in their sleep pattern, a change in their eating patterns, if they're having strange thoughts, if they're having trouble, really the dividing line between somebody who's in trouble and somebody who just has the blues or what you would call ordinary misery, which is a good thing. Somebody who's having trouble functioning. If you have difficulty with work or relationships or your health is suffering, then you have something that requires attention, and that's the threshold you should cross. Now, also, the good news is we live in a time when people are finally beginning to understand the brain is just another organ, like the pancreas, like the stomach, and it gets sick just like every other organ. It's a special organ. Yes, our self is embedded in it. Our bodily, our social experiences are embedded in it. But as an organ, it gets sick like any other organ. And the good news is we have Zoom available these days. We have internet, digital access to healthcare that I was very skeptical about when this got going, that is turning out to be very useful.
Yeah, you mentioned this reinvigorated push to make America healthy again from the Trump administration. And a lot of it has to do, at least to what we talked about so far, with food. Talk to us about that link between nutrition and good mental health.
Well, the brain is embedded in a body. And so the body's health, the brain health, they are the same thing. And particularly if you are obese or you're having trouble sleeping or you are, involved with foods that are not nutritious, it affects our brain functioning. And things like seed oils, think like highly processed food, chemicals in the environment, of course. And we don't even really know yet the full impact of that. And by the way, sedentary lifestyle. I mean, how many years have we been preaching that people need to exercise? The reality is when it comes to conditions like depression, exercise and listening to a little classical music measures up favorably against all these pharmaceutical agents we're throwing at people.
Let's talk about other types of drugs, though. Marijuana, legal in a lot of places now. THC drugs, more potent than ever before. When we see the statistics on mental health issues in this country, what is the science telling us about the addiction crisis and the mental health crisis?
Well, addiction is always part of the story. You look no farther than your sidewalk because all the people out there on the street are addicts. Make no mistake about it. A few percent, 10% or something maybe have serious mental illness. Most of those also have a drug problem. So drugs are a major, major issue in this country, and cannabis is no exception. We are up to 100% concentration THC in what's being sold, particularly in the states where the market is influencing the distribution of highly potent cannabis. Of course, the more potent, the more attractive it is to the marketplace and is having marked effect. We are seeing three things. We are seeing people having trouble functioning just from the occasional exposure, really. Not that occasional exposure to alcohol or cannabis is necessarily a bad thing, but we are seeing problems. Number two, highly addictive. My own daughter goes to meetings every day for the last 3 years because of her addiction to cannabis. It was profound, particularly if you're doing dabs or anything of that nature where you're pulling out a blowtorch, you have a problem. And then psychotic episodes. I also was rather skeptical that cannabis caused psychosis. Well, with the current concentrations, there is no doubt about it. It causes severe psychotic breaks.
I need to switch gears with you now, Doctor. Americans still asking a lot of questions about how former President Joe Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis went under the radar for so long. You're a prostate cancer survivor.
Yes.
Given the health care that Biden had, given his age, both civilian and military medical care, physicals at Walter Reed, how do you think this went down? How do you think this actually happened?
So people understand my ability to comment on this. I've been treating prostate cancer for 40 years. I had prostate cancer. I've had a prostatectomy and radiation, and I'm on the board of the Prostate Cancer Foundation. We fund very exceptional research throughout the world. So I'm extremely familiar with this. There was some controversy about the regular screening with PSAs, blood tests, of men over the age of 70 or 75. His physician, who is interposed, he's brought his own personal physician who sat between the patient, President Biden, and Walter Reed, and the finest physicians in the world. And it seems to me, this guy's been subpoenaed now to come before Congress, so we'll find out more details. He elected not to do PSAs on President Biden. Look at the outcome. Every man over 50, every man over 40 with a first-degree relative with prostate cancer should be getting this every year, nonstop. Look at the outcome. How do you think this turned out? The idea that they were doing maybe digital rectal exams, they found a nodule. This is old-fashioned stuff, and lo and behold, it's metastatic disease. It's sort of, my friend Adam Carolla distills it down to a simple paradigm: stupid or liar, one or the other, or both possibly. Either was bad medicine or they're distorting the truth. And given the obfuscation that has come out of that administration the last 4 years, it's hard to believe anything. And this situation defies an understanding. I would have imagined he'd been at least diagnosed 3 or 4 years ago. That's usually what happens when somebody has metastatic disease. But hopefully we'll find out more.
Dr. Drew Pinsky, always appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate it.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.